Pam?
Okay.
I'll just wait for, okay, there it is. And also with the regulatory, her staff is consistent of a grants and regional coordinator manager, which again, based on certain things that we're doing or certain services that we may offer, or we do have grants. With this person will go out and search those grants out, or with the direction of working with the executive director, we'll submit grants and to help with our different fundings or different services, depending on how they apply. And also too, there's a mobility specialist person. And if you notice, that person is in green as a contractor, but we work with that person as a partner, and they're actually an employee of Able, South Carolina. So that's how we work with them in that perspective. And also to just a future position we have, there's a compliance specialist which that will be focusing on procurement and contracts and M and DBE. So, but that's a future position. Again, part of our organization is not always looking at where we are, but we have to constantly look at the future of where we need to be based on meeting demands of not only the service, but again, the community. The other area, Director of Administration and Operations, CEO, that's the position that I hold currently. And if you notice, it includes a lot of different areas. One of my main responsibilities is, which I'll talk about just in a minute, is contract oversight, but I also have responsibilities for the administration piece of that. We do have an administrative customer service specialist. Probably one of her main roles is the support of the board as far as scheduling board meetings, and when we have our board meetings of taking the minutes and recapping that, and also too with the support of supporting the executive director also. One thing you'll notice about our positions and in our organization, we have to wear a lot of different hats at different times. So she's also, she helps us in supporting our customer service department, our experience department. Also, I'm responsible for the marketing piece, and all of you know Pam's been doing a great job for us. And also just always the image of the COMET and what we're trying to do out in the community, being very active in the community and working with them in different ways. And also to the importance of information, of getting that out to the public. And you can imagine dealing with COVID-19, the importance of getting that information out as far as press releases, which would fall under her responsibilities. I mentioned about contract oversight. That's a big part of my area also. We have a contract compliance and customer experience manager that helps and assists in that goes out directly and oversee the contractor. And part of her responsibility also too is to oversee the customer experience department, which effective July 1, those responsibilities were actually under our contractor, but with our new contract that started July 1, we brought that in-house. So what we've had to do is really develop and plan out a department for customer experience, and that's what we've been doing. And basically we started from scratch with hiring the personnel, training and developing them, and we also have a lead, a coordinator basically there with the customer experience representatives that also will assist with kind of like the day-to-day working and management of the group down in that department. And then we have four and a half, so we have 4 full-time, 1 part-time customer experience representative. And they're responsible for all customer service the customer service experience, not only here in-house in the department, but also at COMET Central also. And the good part about the department and bringing in the personnel that we brought in, they've been doing a great job. Most of their feedback and scores that they've been getting in stars have been 5 stars. So that's very important to us, but they've also, they've done a good job coming in and starting out. Right there, as far as you see the contact general manager, as you know, with our service, we have a prime contractor that's responsible for fixed route and paratransit. So that is contracted out, but our responsibility is to make sure that the general manager here, that the oversight that we do, that they're meeting the requirements, the scope of work of the contract. And that could be anything from the buses being on time, are they being cleaned every night, how often are they being disinfected, the disinfected cleaning process, how often is that being done, the fogging. So we monitor all of that. We monitor to make sure that they're servicing our fleet on time, because that's important for reliability and being on time. So with our staff, we, as far as contract oversight, we pretty much monitor everything that our contractors doing, and we have a way of reporting that and quite naturally holding them responsible. The other area I just want to touch on is our Director of Finance and CFO. That's the area that's important. I'm quite sure everybody knows the importance of being on top of your finances and making sure that they're in order. And, you know, based on how we get a lot of our funding through the penny sales tax, it's very important that we're transparent, but they know that we're being good stewards of that money and making sure it's going to the right places and for the right services and things that it should. And they're audited every year. They've have what they call, from the financial standpoint, their CAFR award. That's the first time that this agency has achieved that the last year. So that's let you know that they're meeting the requirements and the standards from the financial standpoint. And she also too has a staff that consists of a financial accountant and office assistant. And also too, that's what's new to us, we also have an information technology manager that we brought in-house. And that person, quite naturally these days with systems, has been a great asset to the staff. And then we also have a planning development specialist and also a temporary, what we call a transit traffic checker. And the planner, you know, big part of their responsibility is to make sure that we're planning, we're developing, and we have the right routes, the right service out there with the feedback that we get from the public, our riders, also through social media, and also through our customer experience department. And just to that person sort of they work in conjunction with the temporary transit traffic checker, because a lot of times when you're looking at making service changes, you need data. So that person helps the planner with collecting data. And also too, we're in the process of getting in what we call the automatic passenger counters on our buses. But even though once you install those on the buses, they have to go through a certification process. So that person will be part of that process also. So as you look at our staff, we're sometimes, well, we have a big responsibility of holding our contractor accountable to deliver what the public expect. And that's our whole goal. And with that, our board challenges us to make sure not only that we're looking at today, but what do we need to do to be successful down the road. And we continue to look at other transit agencies across the country to see what they're doing, But the most important thing is how do we tailor that to make sure we meet the needs of the Midlands community here in Columbia. That's kind of like just an overview of our organization, and quite naturally, one of the biggest things that we probably deal with a lot of times is when people bring up issues about how do we make route changes and different things like that. That's usually a big one. But just to kind of give you a quick little idea, when we try to do service changes twice a year, normally January and September. And what we do there is we just don't come up with these. We have to have data. We have to present to the board what we, based on the feedback and things that we've gotten, what we want to do. And then from there, we go through a committee to vet that process. And then once the committee reports back to the board, then we go out to public hearing. So we go through this process to make sure that when it's time to do service changes, we've done all that we need to, but also get the input from the community and riders and everyone before these things are done. And then final approval through our board. So just a quick process on probably one of the big priorities that we always have people asking about is our routes. Questions?
No questions?
No questions? Okay. Pam, you know how I am. I've got 1 minute, but one thing I want to just emphasize to everybody is just with the COMET, our commitment to COVID-19 and what we've done with the direction of our board. We do have a COVID-19 ad hoc committee that over the past months have driven and worked with us to come up to make sure we have a COVID-19 policy. And these are things that we had to look at. We had to increase the cleaning and disinfecting of our buses, where we have to do that daily. We have to do detailing of the buses. Instead of twice a month, we do it 4 times a month. And the same thing about fogging. Instead of twice a month, we're doing it 4 times a month. We make sure that we have masks are required on our buses. So we try to practice social distancing there. We don't allow standing. We're still operating not at full capacity, but we're operating on what we call our Saturday extended service. So these are things that has challenged us over the past 6 to 7 months. But there's nothing more important to us than safety, and that's from our operators, but also our riders and the community too. And I think that's one thing I want to thank everyone and also the public for feedback and really holding us accountable to make sure that we can do whatever we can to make sure we're safe out there.
All right. Thank you, Leroy.
Pamela, this is Twyla with Experience Columbia SC, Twyla Jones with Experience Columbia SC. I do have a question before our guest leaves.
Okay.
With the spraying and the cleaning that's going on, are you all using a company for that, or were you able to move some of your drivers and other staff to train and learn how to do that?
Yeah, we have a company that's contracted with us to do cleaning on our buses. So we work with them to, for example, instead of just doing that detailing, instead of doing it twice a month, we went to 4 times a month. So we work with them to make sure that they could increase the cleaning requirements that we had. So we work with them. We didn't have to utilize, operators or anything like that. We work that out with the contractor that's responsible for our cleaning. Okay.
I guess I was just hoping that some of those bus drivers or those staff persons who did lose their jobs, perhaps in the transition of COVID and trying to come back, that they could have learned and trained to do that and been able to keep their jobs. But that's a totally different company that's now coming in and cleaning and sanitizing your buses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Twyla, I like to kind of add to something that you alluded to. So we brought back a lot of furloughed drivers through the dollars that we got from the CARES Act. And one of the ways that we did that was through the partnership that we have with some of the food suppliers like Meals on Wheels. You know, we're still doing food delivery, and that's part of what
senior resources
they brought back with senior resources.
That's great, because when you mentioned that last week, I thought that the feeding project and partnership that you all did was just over the summer, but that's still continuing.
Yes.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Thank you both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
sure.
and as far as right now, all of our the drivers that were furloughed, all of them are back working now.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And again, I appreciate you all with your interest in learning about the COMET. And I'm kind of a personal person, so I definitely appreciate it. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation today. We are going to go forward with the customer service portion. We'll talk about kudos and complaints and what goes on in that department. And I would like to introduce Paige Jernigan, who's the Administrative and Customer Service Specialist. She came to the COMET as a temporary employee in 2019. And in her present role, she was the board liaison and took on other tasks such as customer service and administrative duties as needed. She's now employed full-time at the COMET and has taken on more responsibilities such as board clerk, managing the executive director's calendar, monitoring solutions for transit database, and helping the customer experience specialist staff. Initially, Ms. Jernigan came into this position with no knowledge of transit, but since then, she has mastered multiple assignments and really is the go-to person on the COMET staff. She beams when she states that she has discovered a fascination for the transit system and learned something new every day. She settled into her role nicely and is happy to call the COMET staff her family. And then we also have Patricia Geddes, who's the Customer Experience Coordinator. Ms. Geddes joined the COMET's team in July 2020 as a Customer Experience Coordinator. In this role, her responsibilities include providing lead work direction and training to the Customer Experience representative staff in various functions. She also serves as liaison to other departments in this role. Prior to joining the COMET's team, Patricia served in various customer service roles such as customer service representative, call center supervisor, career development facilitator, lead operations representative, and retail store manager for a combined total of over 30 years. Time has taught her well in that patience, empathy, and creativity are all a must in interacting with customers. Patricia finds great pleasure in assisting customers to meet or exceed their expectations of the COMET, leading to greater customer satisfaction, loyalty, and advocacy. And as Leroy mentioned earlier, they've been getting 5 stars across the board and really hitting it outside the park with their responsiveness to our riders and to the general public. So I will turn this over to Paige and to Patricia.
Good afternoon, all. I'm going to try to share my screen here for a second. Okay, it's telling me host disabled participant screen sharing.
That's not true. I didn't. Let's
okay. Anyway, while Pam is doing that, I just want to thank you all for being a part of this afternoon. This is super exciting that we have such participation. As Pam stated, the transit was totally new to me. I was petrified. Never been on a bus before, never actually knew anything about the transit system, but I've fallen in love with the COMET and the leadership and the staff and the people, the drivers. So it's been a great experience. So did you get it, Pam?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You know, if you guys see it.
Yep.
You
We
got
can see
that?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay, we're going to kind of run through this slideshow presentation. As mentioned, I'm sorry.
Hit display settings.
Oh, I got you. Okay. There we go. Better?
Did you click it? Click duplicate slideshow?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could go ahead. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, good. As Leroy alluded to, we have taken the customer service piece in-house, which has been really challenging, but also very exciting. As you can imagine, the customer experience reps are the face of the COMET, and typically they are the first to get yelled at or usually you know, the negative comments, so they've got to have some pretty tough skin to make that work. The purpose of the customer service piece is to provide timely and accurate information to the customers through the COMET customer service department. And we're going to ensure that the customers are provided with the most up-to-date information about the routes and the services. The majority of the calls that we do receive are, where is my bus? You know, I've been left at X stop. You know, so it's a lot of map reading, a lot of tracking of the buses. So the girls down there really have to wear lots of different hats. Our objectives, identify and analyze customer needs and problems, and recognize the most common reason for the customer complaints. Typically, they're having a bad day. Discover techniques to cultivate and maintain special customer service relationships. I do want to add that some of the our customer service experience reps are prior bus drivers, which is really neat because they've been on both sides of the spectrum, and it's been a great learning experience to those who have never ridden or driven a bus, just to kind of get that different perspective. So it's been really interesting. The main reasons for calling customer service, obviously the bus did not show. Commendation, office staff. Luckily, we do get quite a bit of that now, which is wonderful. The condition of the bus stop, if the grass needs to be mowed, if the trash receptacle is overflowing, things like that. That's you know, what we'll address. Of course, COVID-19. That's been a big concern to our riders. So that's, as Leroy said, we've taken all the proper measures to ensure that we've got, you know, all the safety and compliance in place. I think that we've all done a great job with that. Discourteous employee, that's basically, you know, the bus driver was rude. And then finally, inappropriate conduct. And that could be with a driver or with a rider themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Patricia.
Let's continue.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is Patricia Gaddis. It's my pleasure to be here. These are reasons that customers call customer service continuing. Inattentive employees, overloaded bus, passenger passed by. Usually when we get complaints of customers being passed by, they're usually not at the designated bus stop, but they will call us and say, well, I was standing right there at the bus stop and the bus passed me. Of course, you know, we have to investigate that, but usually the customer is not at the stop. They're across the street or running, trying to catch the bus. The bus running early or bus running late. Service request. Service requests could be many of things. A lot of customers say, well, the closest bus stop to My house is half a mile away or whatever it may be. And then we have other. A lot of different things could go under the other category. Other usually means that items are left on the bus. For some reason, we have a lot of people leaving their cell phones on the bus, or their umbrellas, or walking canes. We've had a lot of those. But those are some of the reasons that people call the customer service department. Now, when they do call customer service, we are taking, logging the information into a call log, categorizing the calls. So at the end of the month, we are tallying the calls to get, at the end of the week, I'm sorry, we're tallying the calls to see the average daily calls, the most type of complaints or type of calls that we've received. So this is a bit of the statistics that we've received for September. Week 1, September, average daily calls, 269. The number 1 customer complaint was discourteous employee or rude employee. Week 2, average daily calls, 214. Customer complaint, number 1 customer complaint, discourteous employee. Week 3, average daily calls, 200. It fell under other, the number 1 complaint. Again, other could be a number of things, but mostly items left on the bus, new bus stop requests. And week 4, average daily call, 229 calls. So as you can see, we do get a lot of calls, and at certain times of the month, we're finding that at the beginning of the month, the call volume is a little bit higher than the rest of the month. Discourteous employee or rude employees, that's the most common complaint that we get. But usually when a customer calls a company, they're usually complaining, whether it be about the bus or calling a company. But that is something that the COMET definitely takes seriously, and we're collaborating, with other departments. So what is customer service? Customer service is delivering exceptional service that fulfills the customer's need. So, and we're all customers. So basically, I can identify with that personally. What are the customer needs? Everyone wants to be greeted. Everyone wants to feel valued. Everyone wants to be helped, want their questions answered. It wants to be listened to know that someone is listening to them, and to also feel welcome to come back if they have other problems. Okay, teamwork makes the dream work. We definitely cannot do it alone in customer service. A lot of the requests or a lot of the complaints, we have to work collaboratively with other departments, such as working on customers' requests for a bus stop, that is a development and planning committee. We work with dispatch to get the location of the buses. We work with the transit center as far as the items left on the bus, operations as far as procedures and everything. So we all work as one team with one goal in mind, and that is customer satisfaction. So thank you for calling the COMET. Have we answered all of your questions today? If there are any other questions, feel free to ask. We'll be more than happy to answer.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. First of all, I want to say big ups to the COMET. This is Jill. I manage the Experience Columbia SC Visitor Center.
Hi,
And
Jill.
yes, and I also want to give a big ups to the customer service department because you all are really good ambassadors. I've had to bug you lots of times about my questions, and your team is always very good in the responses. But I have a question. John, when he first came on board, reached out to Experience Columbia and the Visitor Center about partnering with customer service for cross training and to learn the area. And occasionally we do have visitors from outside of the state and international visitors that want to ride the bus. So while you all are doing those stats, has anyone ever clocked about how many out-of-town visitors or tourists, how many ride the bus?
So I can answer that for you, Jill. We were just
Thanks.
beginning to capture that information, and then COVID hit. So basically, it's really essential travel, people going to the grocery store, going to a doctor's appointment, going to work, kind of thing. And it's not a whole lot of visitors, but we hope to begin to start tracking that soon. Another thing you mentioned was training. And our drivers the ones who drive Soda Cap are filtering into the Hot Spotters program.
Very good.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know, the Hot Spotters program is a wonderful program that's hosted by Experience Columbia SC that cab drivers go through to learn all the different hot spots in Columbia, South Carolina. So when they have passengers, they can talk intelligently about what this place is, how to get here, a little bit of history, and to basically just make their whole experience more welcoming. And so our drivers who drive the Soda Cap Connector, which are the trolleys and the buses that go along the city center in a loop, they're starting to go to that program so they can do the same.
That's good.
Okay, any more questions?
I have a question. So what does a company do locally, a business do locally? And I guess this is really for Jill. How does a company locally contact you to be on the list of hotspots?
We have our partnership services manager.
Okay.
Her name is Judy Van Patten.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you her phone number.
I'm ready.
803 545
Okay.
0021.
Okay. Thank you, Jill.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next presenter. And we'll be talking about accessible mobility for all, which includes civil rights and the mobility programs, which are V, TRIP, and PUT, which is a taxi voucher program. Dr. Arlene Prince is the Director of Regulatory Compliance and Civil Rights Officer for the COMET. In this role, her responsibilities include ensuring adherence of the COMET's policies and procedures, as well as the required local, state, and federal guidelines and regulations. She oversees grants, regional coordination, and mobility management activities, and functions as the Civil Rights Officer of the COMET regarding Title VI, American with Disabilities Act, the Equal Employment Opportunity, Environmental Justice, and Disadvantaged Business Enterprises. In this position, Prince also ensures the COMET's compliance with other Federal Trade Administration programs that are related to the National Transit Database, the drug and alcohol testing, safety, fixed assets, and security. Prior to joining the COMET, she spent more than 30 years with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. She holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Public Administration with a minor concentration in Transportation from the Union Institute and University Graduate School, a Master of Arts degree in Business from Webster University, and a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics with a minor concentration in Computer Science from South Carolina State University. Other learning experiences include statewide leadership institutes through the South Carolina Budget and Control Board, national leadership programs through Indiana and Duke universities, and an international transit study mission in Germany and the Netherlands. Presenting with her is Brittany Higgins Terry, who is the Mobility Management Specialist for the COMET. She is a graduate of Columbia College with a BA in Child and Family Studies. She set out to become an early interventionist, but along the way became involved with advocating for public transportation. She sought support from Able South Carolina as a consumer and later became one of the first 3 EQUIP coordinators. She eventually became the travel trainer for the COMET and 5 years later, the Mobility Management Specialist. Now employed with Able South Carolina as the Mobility Management Specialist through a partnership with the COMET, Brittany strives to create a Central Midlands that considers mobility for all. And so I'd like to welcome Dr. Arlene Prince and Brittany Higgins Terry.
Thank you, Pamela.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, I was looking for y'all.
I would just like to take this opportunity. Can everyone hear?
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to say thank everyone again for participating in the COMET Academy. I remember about 3 years ago, I have been in transportation, as you heard from my bio, but I've only been with the COMET for the past 3 years. I started on October 16, 2017. And on my first day on the job, I was informed by the interim executive director that the COMET Academy was starting on that same day, and she wanted to know if I wanted to participate. So of course I said yes. So I was in your position about 3 years ago, and I want you to know that I thoroughly enjoyed the program, and I thought it was very beneficial. And it gave me a lot of good information about the agency and a lot of things that are done at the local level. What I plan on doing this evening is to talk to you about accessible mobility for all. And Brittany Terry and I will be sharing a lot of information with you. And one of the things, I guess, after I saw our title, I thought about adding another program. So it's basically almost accessible mobility and other opportunities for all. So that's kind of the information that we'll be sharing this evening. Pamela,
Ready?
do you have the PowerPoint?
I do.
Okay.
Bear with me while I share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see it yet.
Okay. Let's do this. Do you see it now?
No.
Let's try this one more time.
I think it's coming now. Yeah. Okay, can you go to the next slide?
Okay, well, let me get it up first.
Okay.
Okay. Do you see it?
Yes, I see it now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
We're going to talk about mobility for all. And when we think about mobility for all, Title VI comes to mind. And with the passage of Title VI, which is a federal law that applies to recipients and subrecipients of federal financial assistance, and this includes states, local government, and transit providers. Title VI was proposed by President John F. Kennedy in 1963, but this legislation really didn't go into effect until a year later which was signed by the President Lyndon Johnson, and this was on July 2nd, 1964. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 states that no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Okay, next slide. And with Title VI, it kind of like impacts the COMET in several ways. Title VI created some programs that impact the COMET, and there are several, but today would just like to focus on 3 of those programs. We want to talk more about Title VI. We're going to talk about the American with Disability Act and the DBE program, which is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. And that's the one that we consider to be under other opportunities. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about Title VI. Under the Title VI program, we're required by law to have in place a complaint process. And one of the mechanisms is to have a form posted on our website so that individuals who feel that they have been discriminated against can submit their information to us for further investigation. So we do have a complaint form that's online, and this document was also in Spanish, but it's currently being updated, so we will be updating this form as well in Spanish. We also have Title VI signs posted on our buildings, on buses, and on our website. And we also want to make sure that when it comes to Title VI, we ensure that there's equal distribution when it comes to other services that we provide, such as the frequency of the service, the times. We also look at the age, the quality of our vehicles that have been assigned. We want to make sure they're all not in one location of the state or one location of our service area. And we also look at the various routes in terms of where they are located. And like I say, for all 3 of these particular areas, we want to make sure that there's equal distribution. A component of Title VI also is limited English proficiency. Limited English proficiency relates to individuals who cannot read, speak, write, or understand English. And we're required by law to have in place a language assistance plan. So we have been working to develop and implement procedures to address this particular area. Now, one of the first things we did was conduct a survey of our service areas and individuals and our clients in this particular area. And based on the results of the survey, it indicated that the majority of individuals who do not speak English very well, the majority speak Spanish. So this is the primary area that we will focus on when it comes to another language, to make sure that we have mechanisms in place for individuals who speak Spanish. Now, if there are other areas or other languages that are out there and individuals may need assistance, we will handle those on a case-by-case basis. And we are working now with our contractors to develop various mechanisms, because we realize that our operators and our supervisors and the ones in our customer service centers, they are the front line. They are the ones who will have more interaction with with individuals who do not speak English. So we want to make sure that they are aware of the various mechanisms and initiatives within the agency that can assist in this particular area. The next slide basically focuses on American with Disabilities Act, and I'm going to turn this over to Brittany Higgins.
Okay, what I'm going to do now, we have 2 YouTube videos, but in the interest of time as well, what I'm going to do with the participants, cadets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to the YouTube video so you can see the passage of the legislation at your leisure. So I'll do that at the ending of this meeting today.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Nice going with the flow there, Pam. So 2 mobility projects were mentioned, and those 2 projects are actually in the process of being launched. And they are part of many different projects that I oversee / work with on a consistent basis. As you'll see, the #1 project that is still on the list that's presented before you is travel training. Travel training is still a priority and still takes place today. I'm currently developing a virtual travel training plan, but I've also given some travel training to different organizations who have requested my presence at their conferences and things to talk about how to use the bus system. The COMET Accessibility Advisory Committee is something that was launched a few months ago, and it basically involves looking at different solutions to improve accessibility on the fixed route as well as DART. And we have 6 to 8 regular members who provide their feedback. The majority of these members are individuals with disabilities. And one of the projects that we've been really focusing on lately has been accessible schedules for individuals who are blind or with blindness, so to speak. And so that's been one of the key things that we've been focusing on. And then, of course, one of the ongoing issues that comes up in the committee is the lack of accessible pedestrian infrastructure. And then so trying to look at ways to tackle that within the community. The pickup program, or PUP, and the volunteer transportation reimbursement program are 2 things that I'll cover in our next slides, but they are, as I mentioned, 2 programs that I have been working to launch in collaboration with my ABLE SC colleagues, and I am going to be so excited when they officially launch, but we can definitely say they are in the process of doing so for sure. The Travel Navigator / Travel Ambassador programs have been posted on ABLE SC's website as well as our own. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at doing with the independent living specialists at ABLE South Carolina is making sure that they're well trained to be able to pass that on to their consumers that they work with on a regular basis. So that basically means that they'll be able to give their consumers an in-depth knowledge of the transit system, and also have the skills and abilities to be able to teach people, different people with skills and abilities. And at some level, a lot of the independent living specialists already do, just based off of their general background. But one of the things that Pam mentioned about me is that I have a degree in child and family studies, and one of the things that we did study in that background that greatly helped me out when travel training is how to teach an individual who has different abilities or different skill sets, and how to assess that, and all these other fun things. And so one of the project you see below that is the mobility guide. I'm currently constructing that and hope to see that out before the end of the month. The postage-free matter is just a matter that I handled with the interpretation of a document from the Postal Service that said, hey, you are able to mail out certain materials to certain individuals who are blind if you follow these steps. And so I helped to implement that here at the COMET. So that's been something that has taken place. And then the Lifeline means-based program for Lexington County is basically a program that would allow a Lexington County resident to ride our bus system at a reduced rate. That program has actually been implemented as of January, but of course, as we all know, 2 months later, COVID came along at full force. And so we haven't really been able to see it as active as we like. It's been extended until 2021 for those individuals who would need the reduced 31-day pass living in Lexington County. And so hopefully when we see the fares return to normal, we'll see individuals taking advantage of that. And I'm going to be doing some lovely trips out to the super stops for Lexington County residents to sit there and say, hey, we have this program. come take advantage of it. And the Access Healthcare Program is actually a partnership that we have with Phoenix Mobility Rising that is currently operating the AARP Right at 50 Plus program. And it entails a lot of different details that have some of them kind of been put on hold because of COVID, but it is something that is constantly being monitored to be looked at. So Pam, if you could move to the next slide. So VTRIP, our Volunteer Transportation Reimbursement Program. This is put in very simple language, but that is done on purpose. That's actually part of the idea of accessibility. And it basically is saying the Volunteer Transportation Reimbursement Program gives people money to pay their volunteer driver. And that's in summary what it's going to end up doing. It does have the parameters that you would need to be within the Columbia urbanized area, but outside of the COMET bus routes. So for instance, if you are a DART rider who has had to meet DART somewhere in order to be able to use the service and found this incredibly inconvenient, which we have heard, then as long as you are still considered within the Columbia urbanized area, you can actually take advantage of this program to pay your neighbor or your church member to be able to transport you within the service area. Pam, next slide, please. The COMET Pickup Program is a program that will allow an individual to utilize Uber, Lyft, and taxi partnerships that are partnered up with the COMET for up to $50 a month in a taxi voucher or a Uber or Lyft voucher. And those, like I say, we are in the process of launching those, and we should see them before the end of the month. That is the hope. And I'm very excited to see them come along. Oh, yes, and now, if you will, I'm going to turn it back over to Arlene for her to talk about the DBE.
Okay, thank you so very much. I have the next few slides, and I'll kind of like wrap up our session presentation. But we want to include this particular program in this presentation because when it comes to developing our program, we normally request assistance and feedback from the public. But the DBE program, as I mentioned earlier, is for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. And this program really came about also as a result of the Title VI legislation that was put into place. And it applies to federally funded projects only. And the intent is to ensure that there's a level playing field and fair opportunities for minorities and small businesses to compete on transportation contracts. And one of the ways that this is done is through the establishment of a DBE goal. Next slide, Pam. When it comes to the DBE program, one of the things is involved is one of the things deals with the DBE program are the individuals that are presumed to be socially and economically disadvantaged. And according to the legislation from USDOT, this includes women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, and any other minorities found to be disadvantaged by the Small Business Administration.
Again, I'll send the link to this video on DBE and how that process goes.
Okay, thank you. I mentioned earlier that one of the, I guess, initiatives for the DBE program is to establish a goal. And the goal is established every 3 years. The COMET DBE goal, the federal goal, will expire 2022. And when we put together our goal, set it up, it's normally based on the federal fiscal year. So the federal fiscal year starts October 1st and it ends on September 30th. So our goal will end September 30th, 2022. And then we're normally required prior to the goal ending that we have to work on putting a new goal in place. One of the intent is that USDOT wanted to create a one-stop shopping for DBE certification. And what happens is that there were a lot of agencies having to go to DOT recipients, such as individuals that receive monies from transit, highways, and airports. And all three of these entities receive money through USDOT. Well, one of the problems was that a lot of the agencies were going to all three agencies getting their certification. So DOT thought that it would be best to streamline the process. So they create the one-stop shopping for DBE certification. So what happens now is that all three agencies kind of like work together under one agencies for certification. And several years ago, we all met and decided that since SCDOT already had a certification process in place, we would utilize, let SCDOT serve as the lead agencies for certifying DBE firms across the state. And this would be, once again, used by transit agencies, the highway agency, as well as the airports. And one of the ways how we keep in contact or find out about DBEs, we're required, or SCDOT is required to have in place an online directory. So that's how we normally go in and check. So we do not handle our own certification at the COMET. We utilize the DBE directory that's put in place by the South Carolina Department of Transportation. And this is referred to as the South Carolina Unified Certification Program of the SCUCP directory. Okay, that's kind of like in some of the information we want to share with you this evening. I'm available now, and Brittany, we are here if you have any questions.
Arlene,
go ahead, sir.
Okay, this is Abby Johnson. I got a question on how do you make up your goal? Are there anything that is established ahead of time that it has to be a minimum of let's say 10%, 15%, 20%, or whatever? Because I've seen I've worked in transit for close to 30 years, and I have traveled all over the country, and I see some places that have a DBE goal of 5%, some that has one of 10%. So how do you come to a decision of what your goal is?
Okay, when it comes to developing our DBE goal, in the regulations, there's a process that we follow. It's a two-step process. And of course, it involves looking at all the businesses that are in your area. So that's one of the things we look at. We also take consideration of other DBEs we have worked with in the past or other small businesses. And we make a comparison in terms of the DBEs or small businesses in the areas in comparison to all businesses in the area. So we have to identify what are some of the areas where we would have work available. And we look at the firms, and we use census data as well. And those are some of the things that's included in the formula. And prior to developing the formula, we're required to have a paid participation meeting. So we let individuals know that we're in the process of developing our 3-year goal. And if you have any comments or any suggestions, we encourage you to come to our meeting to provide us with public input, or else you can send something to us in writing. So it varies from year to year. And with that goal, we're required to have a race conscious and a race neutral. Race conscious is when you place goals on contracts, and race neutral is when you award contracts to individuals in those particular categories, even though you may not have a goal. So we're required, when we submit our goal, to break it out. And currently our DBE goal is 5.7% for our federal program. But we also have a contractor that provides our fixed route and paratransit services. So we have a contract goal on that particular project for at least 20%. And so that, and then the 5.7% is just based on our federal projects. So we do have two separate goals within our agency.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I thought Gio may have had a question.
No, that was it. He was asking this about the same thing I was. That's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. Mhm.
All right, so that concludes our presentations for this evening. As promised, I will be sending a copy of the presentations to all of you in PDF form, as well as the links to the videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email of anything you might want to ask that you may have missed, or we may not have covered thoroughly. But I do want to thank you all again for being here, and I wish you all a very, very good evening. See you next week.
Thank you.
The same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.